Hey everyone, what up? Mad Kaiser here, and well, guess what? I'm doing another Tales video, yes. Now this one, it wasn't really planned in any way, cause just about 2 days ago, I did my video on a recap of what is happening with Tales of Rise. And man, was that video actually popular. Like, oh my god, I didn't expect it to be that popular because it got over 100 views. That's a long time since one of my videos has ever reached that number or more. Like, oh my god. So anyway, to celebrate, I thought, since I am a Tales fan, I'm going to give you my top 5 reasons why I love the Tales series. And it's also could be also known as top 5 reasons why you should get into the Tales series. Anyway, without further ado, let's begin.
This ends now. O brilliant blade of coldest steel, rend the infinite darkness, and crush my enemies to nothing! Savage Wolf Fury!
The graphics / art style. One of the main things I love about the Tales series is its great character design, art style, and graphics. What really makes it great and sets it apart from other JRPGs is that majority of the series would have a different type of art style to go with the graphics depending on the console. So for example, like there'll be a difference between Tales of Symphonia, Tales of Abyss, Tales of Vesperia, Tales of Grace's F, like all 4 games where 2 of them were on the PS2 and the other 2 are technically on the PS3. They would have a different type of art style and graphics to suit their own themes, as well as make them stand out each other, so in a way that they don't look exactly the same. Now, while I do understand that doing the Xillia duology all the way to Berseria that they had used the same engine, but at least the character designs and art style they went through really made it a bit different. So they didn't look too much the same, even though you can argue that Xillia 2 and Berseria did look pretty much similar to their predecessors, but even still, the character designs of them are absolutely top 10 fantastic. Like, oh my god, they look absolutely amazing, and the presentation they give really just makes it nice. Now sure, some games have aged, like Tales of Symphonia and Abyss in terms of graphics, but for what the art style provides, I still think it looks appealing to my eyes. Like, honestly.
Let's begin! A man speaks with his back!
The soundtrack. Now, like a lot of popular JRPGs and even niche ones, one of the greatest aspects they have alongside their presentation is of course the soundtrack. And man oh man, are the Tales series no exception. Like, some of the Tales games provide absolutely phenomenal music, including overworld themes, character themes, the opening intros, and of course the battle themes themselves. But Motoi Sakuraba, who is like the main composer for the series, really provides some amazing music from games like Tales of Vesperia, Tales of the Abyss, Tales of Grace's F, and my favorite out of all his soundtracks, Tales of Xillia 1 and 2, as well as Tales of Berseria to an extent. But while his music is great, it has also got another composer who provides some god tier music, and that is Go Shina, who you may know as the composer for Code Vein and one of the main composers for Demon Slayer. And man oh man, is his tracks phenomenal, where he composed the OST for Tales of Legendia, and even recently collaborated with Motoi Sakuraba to provide the soundtrack for Tales of Systeria. And oh my god, is Systeria's soundtrack absolutely amazing. Like, good god, it's so phenomenal. It sounds like a film score, like all the epic orchestral moments that really immerse you and really feel just like you're on the grand scale of things. Like, oh my god, it's so fantastic, and I do pray that Go Shina does return for like future titles, like especially Tales of Arise. Like I hope it is him that's doing the soundtrack as well as Motoi Sakuraba again, because oh my god, this Tears soundtrack was so good. Like go Sheena, you go Sheena. And of course there's also the opening themes they have, provided by songs from famous Japanese artists, both pop and rock, and oh my god, it's phenomenal. Just as much as the animation can provide from either Anime IG, IG Productions, or of course the recently god tier unlimited budget works animation studio you know as Ufotable. Like oh my god. But yeah, the soundtrack is absolutely phenomenal, and even if you haven't played any of the series, just give some a listen to. Like oh my god, it's fantastic. If I had to pick a soundtrack I really loved, it's definitely Zestiria for me. Like oh my god, like you can say what you feel about that game, but you cannot deny it has a fantastic soundtrack.
Now, the ritual of destruction!
Story. One thing this Tales series does well in my eyes is of course the stories. The plots in most Tales games are absolutely fantastic, memorable, and just overall exciting that really give you a great experience and a more reason to play the game itself, as most of them do have a good job building the world, having its own theme and rules and all that stuff that really make you feel like you're actually in the world, whether you're in Rizamaxia, Desolation, Tekka, Lumos, those kind of worlds, and really are just well told. And not only that sure, while some Tales games not always tell a great story, like Grace's F and Zestiria, but when some other games like Symphonia, Abyss, and Berseria do tell a great story, they just make the games themselves more amazing as it is. And sure, while some of them may have a slow start and even can start out cliche, the more you delve deep into the stories through like the second, third, and final act, they become a lot more engaging, memorable, and lots have great moments that can make you feel happy and sad and just make you feel emotional. And of course, as I mentioned, that Tales also handles themes very well, like Vesperia with justice and Berzeria's with revenge. Like honestly, those are two great themes that the games stick by. Even if one of them drops it at the very end, but details. And not only that, but the story not only drives the characters, but there are instances where the characters drive the story as well. If you're asking me what my favorite story in the Tales series is, it definitely has to be the most recent entry, Berseria. Like that told a phenomenal story from start to finish. Like I was engaged non-stop. Like I was interested in the characters, of where the story was going through from the beginning to the very end. It's very fantastic. Like definitely one of my favorite stories in all of gaming. Like honestly. And I'm definitely excited to see if Tales of Arise keeps that true when it tells a great story, because from what we've seen so far, I think it does have the potential of telling a great story.
Here goes! Keep standing around, you're dead! Too late for you. Shooting stars!
Gameplay. Now of course, like all other JRPGs, I can't forget about mentioning what makes a JRPG so popular, and that is the gameplay itself. And the Tales series has, in my opinion, some really great gameplay. And of course it uses the traditional thing called as a linear motion battle system, or LMBS for short. But it's still an action JRPG, which means it involves real-time combat, so you can attack whenever you want, move around, and without having to wait for enemies to attack you. You can dish out some cool combos and all that stuff. And honestly, Tales series has some pretty gameplay that really sets up for really good combos. Like some of them are even very deep. Like, and I think Symphonia, even Abyss, even though I'm not really fond of that game's gameplay, Vesperia, those three really have phenomenal gameplay by using things like normal attacks, arts by using TP to create stronger attacks, and magic, and of course the ever so awesome Mysteric Arts, a special anime insecure limit move that really just is so epic and so satisfying to deal across tons of enemies. And some of the other games like Tales of Grace's F, Tales of Zestiria, which I actually enjoy its gameplay, and Tales of Berseria, they have a different type of gameplay known as the archery, and honestly the archery alone is pretty fun. Maybe not as good as what the previous games have, but still pretty fun and engaging in my eyes, setting up cool combos for their very risk versus reward. And of course some of them even have like over limit, and some of them have things like link attacks, amortization, souls burst. Really all of them have unique types of gameplay and all that sort of stuff. And I have to say my favorite gameplay, well, what has my favorite combat in the series would have to be the Xillia duology, which has both a mix of Symphonia, Abyss's, and Vesperia's combat, mixed with some bits from Grace's F, and which really just makes that battle so engaging. And not only is the combat great, but so are the characters you get to play as. Now, personally, I mostly stick to the main characters, but when I do have time, I spend time playing the other characters, and some of them are definitely fun to play as, and have their own different types of play style, like swordsmen, mages, as well as heavy hitters that can attack with fists or hammers, or even a gun. Like honestly, definitely a lot of fun with these gameplay, and of course they will provide some cool combos like arts and mystic arts and fatal strikes and the field of phonons and over limits and all that stuff. Like it's honestly just fantastic, like very engaging, and really kept me interested and fun to play. And of course it's not just a gameplay where you just fight stuff, there's also exploring through the overworlds, exploring through dungeons, all that stuff that makes JRPG so appealing, and the Tales series, in my opinion, really handles those aspects very well, and I honestly really love it. And another thing from Arise, the gameplay does look dope, so I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how that plays. But overall, I think Tales has amazing combat, even if some are better than others, and each of them are fun in their own right, even if your opinions may vary.
Let's do it, Velvet!
This fight is over! Ultimate Art!
Scatter! Innumerable wounds!
The characters. Now, my favorite thing of the Tales series would have to undoubtedly be the characters, because that is the main reason that keeps me invested in the games that they star in. And of course, that goes the same for any other JRPGs, where I can find them memorable, appealing, some maybe inspirational and relatable, and just some I absolutely love in all of fiction. And the Tales series really provides some great characters. Like even if some of the Tales games might not have great stories, the characters would at least make up for it. And man, is the cast for all Tales games I've played so far absolutely fantastic in their own way, fully fleshed out with their own personality and motivation, as well as all of them have gained significant character development, backed by some really great voice acting, whilst being fun to play, and sporting some great design that honestly makes them iconic and memorable. Like honestly, there's tons of great characters to choose from. Like Symphonia has great cast, Abyss, Vesperia, Grace's F to some extent, Xillia duology, Zestiria to also some extent, and of course Berseria. And all of them have their own motivations that really drive the story forward, and really makes you care about each and every single one of them. Like some of my favorite characters from Tales would have to be Yui, Velvet, Ludger, Sophie, Edna, Estelle, Kratos, Zelos, Luke, Jade, Guy, Tyr, Colette, Leia, Elle, Alvin, Aizen, Rokuro, Eleanor, Laphicet, Bet Magilu. Just all of these characters I can just name right now, they're just all fantastic and honestly memorable. And my favorites, and if I had to pick my favorite character in the Tales series, it's definitely Velvet Crow from Berseria, who's only my favorite Tales protagonist so far, but as well as my favorite female character in all of Tales. Like honestly, she's just so fantastic, and the voice acting from Christina V, who's one of my favorite voice actors, does an amazing job as her. Like, oh my god, like the Tales series also has some great voice acting both in the Japanese and the English dub. Like honestly, and that's one thing that keeps me interested in Tales series is the characters, because they get you into the world, they get you into the story, and there's ones that you can just relate to and care about, and often would have those great moments where the plot would drive them into these insane challenges to the point where they might even be scared, too depressed, or even cry about it, but later get stronger and push it forward, showing that they're not brave, they're not scared, they are stronger than they are before, and they will prevail on whatever their goals are. And honestly, they even have them have a satisfying ending, while some others may have a bittersweet ending. But yeah, and that's about it. And that's another thing why I'm looking forward to Tales of Arise. Anyway, that concludes my top 5 reasons why I love the Tales series, and the reasons why you should get into the Tales series as well, in fact. Now, if you guys want to know what game you should start in the series, I definitely recommend you check Zephyr Revolution's video of what your first Tales game should be, even though it's a little bit out of date, but still, I recommend you do so. He's an amazing guy and makes amazing Tales content. But otherwise, if you really want a long and short of what I recommend, I have 3 recommendations, depending on the platform of your choice. One would be Vesperia Definitive Edition, which you can get on the PS4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch and PC. Tales of Xillia if you only have a PS3, or Tales of Berseria, which is available on PS4 and PC if you want. Otherwise, you can just go straight up with the upcoming Tales of Arise when that comes out, as since most of the Tales games you don't really need to play the other to understand about it unless it's a direct sequel. So yeah, those are my 3 picks. It's either Vesperia Definitive Edition, Tales of Xillia, and Tales of Berseria, with my 4th unofficial recommendation is just to play Tales of Arise if that's so interests you. So whatever you find the most appealing to you, then by all means go ahead and try it, and I think you'll have a blast with it. Anyway guys, thanks for watching, so punch that like button, drop down a comment, and click the subscribe button if you're new, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Mad Kaiser out.